This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. Keith Angle here with TGI Sports Talk's Sunday Stream of Consciousness. How is everybody doing today? It's a Sunday morning. We had some real college football that we'll talk about at some point this morning, briefly, because we've got an entire show to cover it on the college football huddle on Wednesday night, obviously. But we'll cover some Major League Baseball, some pretty good stories to talk about. I think it's... we'll get around the league a little bit. We'll talk about some Yankees and Mets issues, of J-Rod's new contract. Willie Mays gets his number retired by the Mets. We'll talk about that. NFL news and notes. We'll talk about some quarterback situations around the league. We'll say goodbye to Len Dawson, one of my favorites when I was a kid. We'll talk a little about the Aaron Donald controversy. I say we'll talk a little. We get into one of these and we tend to go on. So whether we get to everything is a little debatable. But welcome to everybody who's watching live this morning on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. You'll catch this later on some podcasts around. We'll be on Roku today at noon with this show. It'll replay a couple times during the week. And also a programming note that I've talked about a couple of times. And I want to mention again, and I'll mention during the week, this show next week will move to 8:30 a.m. We'll go 8:30 to 10:30, at least during the football season. It gives me a little bit more breathing room after the show for some things I need to do. So keep that in mind. Again, I hope it doesn't cause any serious issues for our regular participants. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Great to have you in this morning. Good morning to Drew. In for a little bit for a go out and mow before a family occasion. Drew, I just tasted the birthday cake pudding. Oh, my God. It's to die for. It's to die for. The long story won't get into, but I'll be at the same family occasion. I think, Drew. Good morning, Alan. Good to have you with us. I know I saw you and Rick over on the Mac and Jack show that I just participated in for the last hour or so. My time on that show will get cut down a little bit. Back to what it was supposed to be. That started out as a 10-minute pop-in on a Sunday morning before the Patriot games, and we've been going more like an hour. We're going to talk about Nebraska and Scott Frost a little bit this morning after we talk some Major League Baseball. Good. Looking forward to seeing you too, Drew. Some quick thoughts. Frost may have lost his job with the onside kick. Exactly. We'll talk about that. I got to tell you, Northwestern's uniforms were interesting yesterday with the multicolors. I'm not sure if that was just for yesterday's game or going forward, but we'll talk about all that in a little bit. I'm going to touch on college basketball or college football. We'll get through the scores, but we won't go too deep into things today because we'll do that Wednesday night. And we've got a lot of Major League Baseball and football to cover as well. So, but we will certainly touch on some college football. And yes, Scott Frost only put himself on the hot. First of all, losing the game, and I'm going to go back to this. It was a very entertaining game. I picked Northwestern. If you watched college football, the college football huddle, my don't be surprised if was not only would Northwestern cover the 11.5-point spread, they would win the game. So I think I did pretty well there. I had a pretty good day. I missed a couple, really missed on Hawaii, but we'll talk about that stuff a little bit as we go forward. Let's jump into, I got my banners all, I was trying to add one for Aaron Donald here, and I kind of got myself a little screwed up here, so bear with me while I try to get myself situated here. Let's talk about Major League Baseball. Let's go around the league a little bit. There's some stories to talk about, and we'll do that either, as we go forward with this portion. And we've got some specific topics I want to talk about. Certainly I think the Mets did a great thing yesterday, retiring Willie Mays, number 24. He didn't play long with the Mets, but he was an icon here in New York long before the Giants moved to the West Coast. So I think it was a pretty cool situation for the Mets to honor Willie before he passed, before he passes away. Sorry to say it that way, but while he's still with us would probably be a better way to say that. So anyway, let's get around. I'm sorry, I'm making you dizzy here with the banners. By the way, it's your show, guys. We'll talk about what you want. Interesting note, the Dodgers have a staff ERA below 3.0. I've said this all along, guys, and we're going to, as we start jumping around league, we can start right there. The Dodgers, Mark Mancini will be with us at 10:30. He can continue to bash the Dodgers. Today he wants to bash the Chargers. Who cares about the Chargers being 0-3 rather, or whatever they are in the preseason? Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. And, we won't get too far deep into that. Anyway, the Dodgers, sorry, there's my stream of consciousness. I lost track of what I was going to say. The Dodgers pitching staff, losing probably their best pitcher in Walker Buehler, has been tremendous. Picking up, and forgive me, Drew, I'm going to butcher his name because I can never remember, Goslin, has been a godsend for this team. Urias has pitched well. Who else? I'm not looking at let me look at the since we're talking about it. Let's look at their roster a little bit here. Oh, I'm gonna have to get back to where I was. Tony Goslin. I know it's not Goslin. Gonsolin. Help me out, Drew. Jesus. Tyler Anderson, 13-2. Who would have thought Tyler Anderson would be 13-2 at this point? Urias, we would have expected it from. Gonsolin, no. Clayton Kershaw's pitched really well when he's pitched. He's been out. I think he's still out. Walker Buehler, again, they only got 12 starts out of him before he went out for the year. Didn't pitch, and he didn't pitch that great. 2 years in a row, he was my pick for the Cy Young Award. That's not come to fruition. The bullpen, they got the bullpen. I guess you could say, if anything, the bullpen could be a little shaky. Craig Kimbrell is, not lights out there. David Price, probably their weak point, but their starters can keep them going. I don't think it's really going to matter. I don't know why I started that, but I did. Now, Frost will get fired if they win one game in the Big Ten again this year, they'll lose. Let's hang on to those comments for a little bit, Alan, but don't lose track of them. I'm going to have a hard time finding them by the time we talk about college football, but Scott Frost is in a lot more trouble than the Oklahoma game, believe me. Dodgers have an 18.5 game lead over San Diego. Absolutely ridiculous, especially given the moves that San Diego made. Not only, again, was catching the Dodgers in the regular season realistic, even after the trade for Soto and Bell and what they thought Hader was going to do. Hader's been an absolute nightmare. Maybe the Brewers, as bad as as I've talked about, their trade deadline was, maybe they knew something and getting rid of Hader and maybe getting something in return for the future. It's not going to help them this year, probably, but 18.5 game lead. That's not easy to do, guys. Good pitching matchup in Oakland. Too bad the Yankees defense is getting worse. Yeah, I talked about this a little bit on Mac and Jack. We mostly were on football, but bad loss for the Yankees yesterday. And again, one of the problems, and they played better until yesterday. They had a 4-game winning streak, I think, that went away yesterday after a really atrocious August up until that point. But one of the things that have led to this swoon is not just the health issues with Stanton being out, and, Rizzo missing a bunch of games, DJ being banged up. The defense the base running, which was a huge problem the last year or longer, was so much better the first 2/3 of this season, or half of it, I guess 2/3. But that's gone into the tank the last 6 weeks. Defense has not been good. They make errors in big spots. They blowed a game yesterday on error by DJ LeMahieu, who's usually very, very, very consistent, and you can count on him. Not so much. I did mention the Anderson rebirth, I think, if we're still talking about the Dodgers. I think the World Baseball Classic team has been announced, by the way. I was going to look that up today, and maybe we'll I don't doubt we'll have time to get into it today, but maybe next week we'll talk a little bit about that. I believe Anderson's on that team. If what I saw yesterday, I saw a Facebook post that named the starters, not the entire roster, but it may not be even the actual team. So I that's why I didn't plan on talking about it too much. Good morning, Billy Pulver. All over Cape Cod yesterday. Billy had a lot of check-ins yesterday. Seemed like an awful lot of places that you might have had adult beverages, by the way. Gone So Len. Thank you for my Hooked on Phonics instructor. Sure. Like, it's funny. I just see names and certain letters, they don't seem right. Gonzo Len. Was he a Met, by the way, Drew, at one point? I know they had a guy with a very similar name, and I keep saying I think he's a former Met, and I have yet to check that out. In fact, maybe we should. I'm going to look it up. I'll let you guys do that. Speaking of Dodgers, yes, I know. And how many at-bats, by the way? About 20 at-bats since the trade deadline. I mean, he hasn't played. He's playing sporadically at best. 0 for 3 yesterday, by the way, with a walk, which is about the best you can expect from Joey Gallo on a consistent basis. Look, he's played well in the spots that he's played with the Dodgers. I give him credit for that. I never said Joey Gallo wouldn't play decently somewhere. It just wasn't going to be with New York, and he had to go. About the Joey Gallo, and I get my Joey Gallo updates every morning on the Started Up show, which, by the way, you can watch live on Roku, and we've started streaming it to the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook page too. If any of you are early risers, I do that show at 6 a.m. with Mac, and Pegs has also been part of that show as well. So the Philly sports guys. So we had a lot of fun doing the news of the previous day and whatnot. All the way there was a guy, I wish I could remember his name, Drew, and you might come up with it. I know there was a guy with a similar name that pitched with the Mets in relief mostly. Sorry, same thing. So Joey Gallo, good. I'm glad Joey Gallo's doing well with the Dodgers. Look, at my worst nightmare is somehow the Dodgers and Yankees end up in a World Series and Joey Gallo beats them in the bottom of the ninth of Game 7. With a base hit. Wouldn't it be ironic if Joey Gallo not only beats the Yankees, but he does it by hitting the ball the other way against a shift? That would be Keith's worst nightmare, I have to tell you right now. So sorry, I don't know why I keep finding that same one. It always looks new. Let's pop around the league a little bit more. Again, we'll look quickly at the divisions. We'll go from the American League on. Yankees, as we said, had righted the ship a little bit before yesterday. They really need to fatten up and get themselves some momentum, finishing up against the A's. The A's today, and on to the Angels after that. Must be that birthday pudding cake or pudding birthday cake. I don't know what to call it. You're going to like it, Drew. Boy, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, Yankees on a 10-game trip here. Kind of important to get healthy and get some momentum going before they get back to the East Coast. Fortunately for them, Tampa had been red hot till the last couple of games, and the Blue Jays are both losing. So their lead is actually lengthened since they headed out to Oakland. It's 8.5 and 9 over the Blue Jays. And I don't think we're going to the Rays and the Blue Jays. So I don't think we're going to see that colossal collapse. I've talked about it several times with Jamie Paggs, and he predicted it. And it was kind of looking, listen, the biggest game the Yankees played all year, in my mind, was last Sunday after we had this show. They had been beaten 3 in a row by the Blue Jays. If they had gotten swept that Sunday and only had a 6-game lead, it looked like they were heading in to play the Mets against Scherzer and DeGrom. DeGrom did get pushed back and didn't pitch. Walker pitched. But again, hindsight 2020, what would have happened? I don't know. But it's not inconceivable the Mets go in there and sweep the Yankees instead of the other way around. And who knows where we'd be sitting right now today. The biggest game the Yankees played all year was last Sunday. That's my take on that. I have officially put a nail in all the nails in the coffin of the Red Sox. They are done. And the Orioles, while being scrappy and hanging in there, won 3 in a row again. They're hanging in on this wild card race. Where are they? Game and a half out behind the Mariners and the Blue Jays, who are tied, and the Rays. So this is going to be a great, probably 3-team race. The Twins could get back into that race. But I'm declaring the White Sox and the Red Sox both dead as of today. Okay, what do you got here? San Diego's still a wild card for now. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second as well. Listen, San Diego and all these Dodger haters, like Mark Mancini, were anointing San Diego as soon as these trades were made. And I said, slow your roll. Talked about it here on this show. Talked about it on a bunch of shows. San Diego's not a given for the playoff. The best thing they've got going for them is the fact that the Brewers, who are probably the only team I think that could get in there and knock either San Diego or the Phillies out. I don't think they're going to have enough to be able to do it. For non-Ranger fans, I would have certainly got to this, but we'll certainly go there now. Congratulations to Adolis Garcia, tied a season-long. I'm not sure. That is for the Rangers, I'm guessing, 23 straight games, because obviously many players have had more than 23 games, including the one Joe DiMaggio, obviously. But still, congratulations. 23 games is not an easy thing to do. You don't see that a lot. Tampa Bay and Toronto, not surprise wild cards, but kudos to Baltimore for staying in the hunt. I agree. I mean, one of those teams is not going to get in. And it would be an extreme disappointment for either Tampa Bay or Blue Jays fans not to make the wild card, in my mind. The Mariners, I think the Mariners as well. They had great expectations in the preseason and got off to a horrendous start, put themselves in good position here. So for them to miss the playoffs now would not be good. We're at the point where we don't care if our team loses for Allen. That happens when your team is how many games out? 22. Listen, Alan, I've told you this before. This is a team with some good young talent. They got ahead of themselves this year. That's the big problem in my mind. They spent too much money on 2 free agents that they weren't ready to sign. And it's well documented how I feel about their trade deadline. So moving to the AL Central, it is a mess. But the Guardians have started to take a little bit of control. They've had a lead as much as 4 games, maybe 5 games. 4 might have been the high water mark. It's still 3 over the Twins, 5 over the White Sox. I say the White Sox are done. I've given them the benefit of doubt too many times this year. That they will, if they could get it together, they could get hot, get a playoff spot, maybe win a series. This White Sox team is done. Tony La Russa is done. This team will look much different come next year, starting with the manager, and I think they will break up the nucleus of this team and make some trades. And your leader's 536. Don't forget, the Mets had their old timers game, which we'll talk about a little bit in a second. The Mets got to a World Series with a winning percentage worse than that. I think they were, if I want to if I'm not mistaken, 1973, Drew, they were barely over 500. They were 82-80, maybe. I'm not sure if 162 games got played that year. I think they did. 82-80, they get to the World Series. So it can happen. I don't see these teams doing that. I think all of these teams are flawed. The Twins were my pick, as we know, to win this division. I think Rocco Baldelli may be in trouble in Minnesota. We'll see. The inevitable Brian Buxton injury, extended injury came, and he hit the IL, I think, for the first time this year. But we knew it was going to happen, and we see he's such a great player, cannot stay on the field. Yankees have talked a lot about trading for him at the trade deadline, and it did not happen. The Twins, by the way, their trade deadline was not good. I liked what they did kind of with their trying to remake their pitching staff, both the starting and bullpen. They got one of the best closers in the game right this season anyway, and Lopez from the Orioles, who kind of showed you what you can do at the trade deadline in moving your marketable pieces and staying relevant. So White Sox still relevant. I just don't think they're there. I think the White Sox are done. Good morning, Kenny Gifford up on the mountain. Good to have you with us this morning. Trey Turner has 23 this year as well. There you go. Oh, you're saying that so it tied the longest for this year. I'm not sure what the Rangers' record is for a consecutive game hit streak, but it's probably pretty close. What decade? Alan joined me. What a decade for us O's fans. Oh, join. Listen, it's been a bad decade for the Orioles until now. They're finally making some smart moves. If we get a chance, we're going to talk about some of the great rookies, and they've got one of their own that has had a huge impact. I told you why John Daniels got fired. Ownership choosing him over Nolan Ryan was a terrible mistake. Agreed. Nolan Ryan, by the way, was doing some things when he was president of this organization that would possibly have changed the course of the way pitchers are used today in baseball, but he wasn't given that opportunity. Moving on to the West, as Drew is ahead of me. Astros and Mariners seem like locks. Listen, they're not right now. Astros are definitely a lock. Astros are also 3 games ahead, still 2.5 games ahead, I guess, of the Yankees for the home field. All important home field. This will be important. I still think it comes down to the Yankees and the Astros. And if it does, I think that home field will be very important. As far as the Mariners, yes. Are they a lock? No, right now they're only, I think, in the 3rd position, right? They're tied for second and third wild card spots with the Blue Jays. And their win percentage is only 543. So I'm not sure which one you're reading there, Drew. Might be the Astros. Maybe you read off the wrong line. No, 543. The 615 is not their winning percentage. And they're, as I said, only a game and a half ahead of the Orioles. So somebody, and that could be any one of these 4 teams, the Rays, the Blue Jays, the Mariners, or the Orioles. Any one of those teams could get left out. So I think it'll be very interesting. I think 31 is a record. I want to say it was Michael Young, but I'm not sure. That's all right. No worries. We get stuff wrong here on this show, especially pronunciation, which I can't even say pronunciation, apparently. Anyone up to stacking? Well, sure, Kenny. I'll be up about, I can probably make it about 10 o'clock at night. What's the spread? Let's move on. By the way, in the West, the Rangers 22 games out, only 10 games under 500. This team will rebound. I think this team will be a contender. Maybe it'll be another year. I think they set themselves behind a little bit, but we'll see. I was going to talk about the Little League World Series. We do have a final matchup, which will be today. Make sure you watch this, guys. Hawaii beat Tennessee yesterday, and we'll meet Caraco, which I know I just said. Curacao. You can't make me up, I'm telling you. They scratched out a 1-0 victory over Taiwan yesterday to advance to Sunday's championship game, which will be, I think, today at 3 or 4 o'clock. I will have some interest in that. I enjoy watching these games. These kids are really good. So Rick's going to help with the pillows when it comes to the – hold on, Drew. Hold on. I got to get back to the stream of consciousness took over there for a second. Let me get back to my standings page. Oh, my God. NL East. Mets hanging in, but Atlanta and Philadelphia onslaught ongoing. Listen, the Phillies are not going to catch the Mets or the Braves. They're 9.5 games behind. But the Braves, despite losing yesterday to the Cardinals, which I think was an interesting matchup this weekend, the Mets are back on a 3-game winning streak. Their lead had shrunk to 1.5 games from 7. They've extended it to 3 again. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Mets have the easiest schedule in September, the remaining part of the schedule, let's say. But again, that's all relative, right? Some of these teams lay down in September. Some of these teams want to knock teams out of the playoffs or out of contention. Listen, the Mets have Scherzer, the Mets have DeGrom. You're not going to go on any extended losing streaks. Are they going to totally fold like they have in past seasons, including last year? No, I've said this all along. With Buck Showalter steering the ship, and you got Scherzer and DeGrom, you're not going on long losing streaks. That helps a lot. The back end of this rotation has started to falter a little bit. Carrasco's injury hurts them a lot. Walker, a little iffy in the second half like he was last year. But Peterson has pitched okay. I just like the way they approach the game, though. They find a lot of different ways to win the game. And the Phillies have done it with some young kids. We're going to talk about Alex Baum with the Phillies. They brought up some other kids. They traded for Marsh to play center field. He's been hurt, but he helped improve that outfield defense. They just got Bryce Harper back on Friday, which is at least a week ahead of schedule. He just tore it up in the few games he played at AAA. And he got off to a good start, I think, with a 2-run single on Friday night. And the Phillies, 6 in a row now they've won. And they're in pretty good shape when you look at the wild card standings. And I'll get your rest of your comments here in a second, guys. As we talk about the National League, and we talked about San Diego already a little bit, the Braves or the Mets will be a wild card. They're both in the playoffs. There's no way this 9.5 game lead goes away for either one of these teams. As I said, Mets teams in the past have blown similar leads, but they didn't have a Scherzer and a DeGrom to stop losing streaks. The Phillies now are 5 games ahead of the 4th place team, which is the Brewers. That's important, right? It's important for a couple of reasons. It's important because that second spot is really important because you're going to get to play at home in the first round of playoffs. No, I'm sorry, you won't. The third team, actually, the first spot is the most important one. That team will get to play at home for the entire 3 games. The second round, though, at least you're not going to get the Dodgers in the first round. But I'm sorry, I'm all over the place today. I'm having trouble speaking. You won't get the Dodgers in the first round anyway. You're likely going to get the Cardinals. So I don't think they want to play, say, the Braves. I don't know who they want to play. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm all over the place here, and I cannot get my thoughts straight on this wild card race. The Phillies, as it stands today, would play the Braves in the first round, all the games in Atlanta. There you go. Finally got it out. And the Padres would have to go play the Cardinals every game on the road. There you go. Finally got it out. Anyway, as far as this wild card race goes, I don't see the Brewers. They're only 2.5 games out, but the offense, they made no moves to improve their offense, which really hurt this team. And you can put a fork. The Giants made a little run a week or a little bit over a week ago, and it looked like they might be riding the ship a little bit, but it's all done. Just hanging a beer from your head and just keep stacking for Ricketts Muffins. Ranger hit streak 28. Gabe Kapler. Interesting. NL Central. Listen, I got to tell you, this team, let me look at yesterday's scoreboard. I meant to look at this box score a little bit. Yesterday, the Cardinals played the Braves. I said a very interesting series this weekend, I think. They win 6-5. Jordan Montgomery, who came into this game 4-0 at a .34 ERA, I think, didn't pitch quite as well. He pitched 5 innings. He gave up 5 runs. More Jordan Montgomery-like. You know, all the Yankee fans getting up in an uproar because Montgomery's gone there, was 4-0 before yesterday. Let's not forget who Jordan Montgomery is. Jordan Montgomery's a 5-inning pitcher. Jordan Montgomery wasn't going to make the postseason roster with the Yankees. This was not a bad trade by Cashman. I'm not afraid to say when he makes bad trades, this was not a bad trade. Bader will come back. Bader will hopefully give them a chance to have some more options in the outfield, better defense in center field. Aaron Hicks has been awful out there. I like Cabrera, the kid that they've been playing a lot all over the field. But listen, he's not a right fielder. I don't want to see Judge in center in the playoffs. I'm hoping Bader can play some really good center field and maybe and Benintendi, by the way, is playing much, much better. So anyway, to your point, Drew, about the NL Central moving upward coincides with Major League pitching collapse. Their pitching has been really, really good, especially there until yesterday with Montgomery and Quintana from the Pirates. I just don't think listen, they got a couple of stars in Goldschmidt and Ariando. Molina is not nearly the player that he was. He's nearing the end, but they got a bunch of young kids around the diamond. Some guys that, you know, casual Major League Baseball fans aren't even going to be aware of. It kind of, and somebody made this comment maybe on this show last week that they do remind you a little bit of, say, the '69 Mets, but they don't have that type of pitching. They haven't for the last couple of weeks, but, you know, overall in a short series, I think this team's probably going to go out in the wild card round. And Kensley Jansen did implode last night for sure, which is not unusual for him. Not one of my favorite relief pitchers as far as shutdown guys go. And, you know, knowing about bullpen issues, being a Yankee fan, it's not hard to pick up on that. Milwaukee's pitching collapse has been certainly, yes, their pitching collapse has not helped them. But the fact that this pitching staff, there's so much pressure on this staff and has been pressure on the staff the entire season, and even going back last season to be perfect. You can't make mistakes because you know your team's not going to score a boatload of runs for you. And that affects, you know, the way you go. Arenado. Thank you for the Alan jumping on the Jurilic Hooked on Phonics bandwagon there. Oh my God, it's never going to change, guys. So get used to it. That's it in the Central. Listen, the Cubs had a good week this week. Well, actually, they didn't. Somebody had gotten out of was sending me messages about the Cubs, and I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude?" 18 games out of first place. The Pirates 7 in a row. Let's see if Mancini's got a way to spin the Pirates, making such great progress. Maybe the worst record in baseball right now. I said the Reds were going to have it. The Nationals save them. The A's save them a little bit. They're tied with them. But still, this team's on its way to 100 plus losses. Out west, the Dodgers, there's not much to talk about. 7-3 again in the last 10. Now it's an 18.5 game lead, 26 over the Giants. This team is really good, and they're going to be very, very tough. Right now, no, there's not much more to say there. Right now, as far as the, you want to look at playoff rankings, let's say, in the National League, it's still the Dodgers. And I think the Braves are second for me. The Mets are third. The Cardinals might be fourth. No, I'm sorry. The Phillies might be fourth. So all three National League teams in the top four. Then the Cardinals. The Phillies, it depends on how they match up. But if they get to the playoffs and they can start Nola and Wheeler in the first two games, it could have a shot. But then I'm going to put the Cardinals and the Padres at the bottom of those rankings. In the American League, it's the Astros. I'm still going to say the Yankees. I know they've had some issues. It's going to matter. It's going to depend on how they figure out that bullpen. How did I say I was going to go to on baseball? 10:50? We'll see if we can do that. It's going to depend on how they straighten out that bullpen and line it up for the playoffs. Chapman's now on the IL with a tattoo infection of all frickin' things. What is wrong with these guys? Oh, they'll get Holmes back, but he wasn't pitching well. They've been using Loizaga and oh God, the other Italian kid. I can't think of his name right now. A lot in the ninth inning. But they've had, listen, Clark Schmidt's pitched well. He's going to be a big part of this staff. Probably not in the start. He'll start. I think he might be starting today in place of Cortez, who I think, by the way, his groin injury might be just a convenient way to get him a breather here before the playoffs start. But Clark Schmidt has been pitched very well. He's been a guy that I've been all over for a couple of years. And pitched really well against the Mets. They sent him to the minors early here to stretch out. But he's a guy to watch out for in the playoffs, as he could be an important arm in that playoffs. So I'll go Astros and Yankees still. Then I'm going to go Blue Jays. Then I'm going to go Rays. Then I'm going to go Mariners. I'm going to go Astros, Yankees, Blue Jays, Mariners, Rays, Guardians. Team formerly known as the Indians. That's very funny, by the way. Oh, you guys are killing me today. You really are. 3 AL wildcards have better winning percentage than the Guardians. That's why I've got them last in my rankings as far as potential playoffs today. Trevino, pitching. He's pitched all right since coming over, but he's not a guy that I want in a big situation in a game. If you're talking about the catcher, Trevino, very happy. I'm not sure what you got there. Schmidt for Neil Bush. Good morning, Neil. Good to have you in here as well. Schmidt would have been a top 10 pick out of college. College had Tommy John his senior year. I've loved Clark Schmidt, as I said a minute ago, Neil, for quite some time. I really thought he might break this rotation last year, but he had some injury issues then as well. This year he's pitched really, really well. He in the bullpen early in the year. As I said, they sent him to the minors to stretch him out as some starting pitching insurance, which it turns out they need, because they need him to pitch. And again, I think he's pitching today, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a quick look. Clark Schmidt against Adrian Martinez, 4:07 start for the Yankees today in Oakland. A couple other stories around Major League Baseball, and you guys can feel free to make a comment on any stories you want to chat about. Number one thing I want to talk about is Willie Mays at the Mets Old Timers game. The first Mets Old Timers game, I think, in 20-some years. I'm not sure why they've gone so long without having one. Old timer stadiums used to be, huge. At least when I was a kid. Now they're not as big a deal. Mets first won in 20 some years, the way I read the story. But they did a really good gesture yesterday, surprising everybody by retiring Willie Mays as number 24, which I think they should. I mean, I know he only played 2 years, I think, with the Mets, or parts of 2 years with the Mets. But what he meant to the city of New York before the Giants left is immeasurable. And Willie Mays might be the most exciting player ever to play Major League Baseball, ever. I only saw the tail end of Willie Mays' career, and he wasn't half the player that he was before that. But being a very nostalgic guy, I've always paid attention to the stars of yesterday because the history of baseball is very important to me and to any real fan in my mind. I have this debate with the Mad New Yorker a lot. History does matter, especially in sports like baseball. And Willie Mays might be the most talented player, all-around player ever to play the game of baseball. He could literally do it all. And you hear that a lot, but this guy could literally do it all. And I think the Mets made a great move yesterday in retiring Willie Mays as number 24. So that's my number one story kind of off the field yesterday. But we'll see about that. We're going to talk a little bit about Rodriguez's contract in a second there, Drew. That's probably my next thing. I don't know what this is. Oh, Matt, this is Kenny talking about Torino playing great short irons, but I'm pitching it. Not sure. That's a very good point, Kenny. Kenny's, I think, maybe started early. Mickey Mantle card worth 12.5, and apparently Rick's got one. Let's move on we will move on here to some other news and notes around baseball. Drew talked about, let me get this, God darn it. Let me get your comment up here, Drew. Julio Rodriguez contract extension, big story. This has been kind of a trend for players this year, or teams this year, to, extend players early in their career, and Rodriguez is no exception here. As the Mets, the Mets wish they had him. The Mariners extend him. What is his? I want to get the details here before I blow it. It's very interesting. It's an interesting contract too. He loves being there, he says. Now here's the thing: let's not sign this long contract, and then when it's obsolete in a year or two, say. I want to renegotiate, but I think he's got some opportunities to do that through the course of this. I don't know all the details. I didn't dive into all of them. At its most straightforward, the deal is $209 million, 12 years starting next season. But it could be worth $469 million over 17 years if he wins 2 MVP awards. The contract includes 7 seasons, a 5-year player option. This is what I don't really like. An 8-year club option with award escalators and possibility the option could extend to 10 years. And then there's a lot more to get into. We're not going to dive into all of this because it gets a little complicated. But here's the thing. I think teams are trying to lock up these guys sooner before they can hit arbitration. But the problem is you give them the ability to opt out and then have to renegotiate with them again anyway. So with this kid, I'm not sure how much they gain here. Again, I don't remember where we ended up with the time frame of players, and we'll look into this for a future show before they get arbitration. But I don't know that he would have had arbitration much before that 5-year mark. So while it's a good thing to sign these kids ahead, the Braves did it with one of their top young pitchers. The Rays did it with Franco last year. Washington tried to do it with Soto. So anyway, yeah, Kenny did a 5:30. It's all about the Mets, baby. The Mets I don't know what that means, Alan, but Glasnow, 1-year extension despite being injured. Very unusual for the Rays. I'll give you that too, Drew. Tyler Glasnow, and there's a chance I saw, I don't know if this is still accurate. Just about a week ago, I saw a story. There's a chance that he would pitch this year, possibly adding another really good arm to that Rays bullpen for the playoff push. Not sure where that stands. But it is a little odd for them to give him an extension while he's injured. Rick has Julio on his fast-falling fantasy baseball team. Listen, don't talk to me about fast-falling. I fast fell through the months of April, May, June, and July. I think I've won now 3 or 4 series in a row. But I was so buried so quickly. Too many guys not doing well, but he's a good guy to have on your fantasy team because he contributes in a bunch of categories for sure. We'll switch to that in a second here. Let me finish up. Let me finish up the baseball. I know I had a couple other quick stories. I think we're not going to take up much more time on baseball, and we're going to go to football. Where was I? I had a couple more stories here, I thought. Find my notes. Bad ink. I talked about Chapman getting an infection, going on a DL from a tattoo. Are you serious? Trevor Story returns from the injured list for the Red Sox. Don't think it matters at this point. The Braves Stevens. Jackson Stevens was placed on a 7-day IL after taking a line drive to the head this week. Another scary injury. There's been a few of these. We're not far away from the pitchers having to wear a helmet and a mask like girls softball. I don't want to see it. Being able to see baseball players' faces is part of the popularity of the game, and these things happen. Don't want to see people get hurt. But these things happen. We're going to get there, Alan. Alan really wants to get there. So let me move on to the NFL. There you go. Maybe you'll get righted now, Rick. Let's move on to some NFL stories because there's a couple things I want to make sure we cover. And we'll get to some quick college football afterwards. Actually, you know what? We'll talk about college football real quick right now, just to get it done. We're only going to talk about it for maybe 6 minutes, though. So don't go away, Drew. Don't go away, anybody else. We're going to talk about it real quickly because it is important, but I got a whole show to do on it Wednesday, so I don't like to spend too much time on it here. But, it is still relevant, and I do want to talk about it because we actually had some real games yesterday. If I can find it. Week 0, we had some games to talk about. The marquee game, and I was pretty good in my predictions Wednesday night, by the way. I missed on a couple, UTEP being one of them, as Alan just brought up. Going through the scoreboard quickly, the marquee game of the day was Northwestern against Nebraska in Dublin. Nebraska an 11-point favorite here. I told you on Wednesday show, do not be surprised if Northwestern covers the spread and wins this game. It was very important that they find a quarterback. They did it, I think, yesterday. Nebraska made some big mistakes at bad moments. Thompson had a decent day at quarterback, but made some big mistakes in big moments. Northwestern ran the ball really well, especially in the second half. And Scott Frost makes a bonehead call for an onside kick, leading by 11 with, I don't know, what was it? How much time left in the game, for crying out loud? There was a bunch of time left in this freaking game. Let me see. I'm looking for the 28-7, midway through the third quarter. He calls for an onside kick. Yeah, that's just trying to be the smartest guy in the freaking room. Not a smart move. We're going to talk a lot more about this game and all these games on Wednesday, but Scott Frost just turned up the hot seat meter like crazy. I'll get to some of your comments after I go through the scoreboard here real quickly. Western Kentucky, I took over Austin Peay. Not a lot of marquee matchups, but it's real football, guys. Much more important than NFL preseason games. Oh, I enjoyed watching some of these games. UNLV won big over Idaho State. I had UNLV. Utah State, Connecticut under their new coach Jim Mora was very competitive here. They were in the game in the fourth quarter. I thought Utah State would just wipe the field with them. They didn't cover the big spread, and they did win the game though. Illinois rolls over Wyoming, which I had Illinois. Florida State rolled over Duquesne, which if they didn't, that would have been a huge problem for Norvell. Florida Atlantic rolls over Charlotte, which we predicted. North Carolina, 56-24. But listen, Florida A&M, this is not a FBS Division I school. For them to maybe they found a quarterback here because they did score 56 points and May goes 29 of 37 for 294 yards and 5 touchdowns. Replacing Sam Howell was an important thing for North Carolina. Maybe they've done that, but this defense, to me, giving up 24 points to Florida A&M in this game is not a good sign. I liked New Mexico State to beat Nevada, but Nevada wins that game on the road 23-12. I liked UTEP a lot. UTEP gets killed by North Texas at home 31-23. And the game I really liked, so I guess there was 3 games I really blew. I loved Hawaii getting 11 at home. Vandy with travel, issues. It's always tough to go to Hawaii and play. The weather's great, distractions, travel, etc. Vandy wins 63-10. Vandy might be sneaky good this year. Watch out. Let's see. Drew's got to go. Bo, no problems. We're going on to the NFL here in a minute, Drew. So you probably would have made it anyway. Have a great day. We'll see you in a couple hours. Ohio State gets beat 40-21 and fall out of top 10. Well, that is a prediction, I believe, for next week. I'm not going to get into next week's schedule as well, but we will. Ryan Helensky at Northwestern is a very good story. Neil will certainly be talking maybe a little bit more about him in this game because he played some pretty good. He played some pretty good football yesterday. 27 of 38, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns. Played a clean game. Was part of a triumvirate of quarterbacks at Northwestern that did not play very well last year, but played very well yesterday. And again, this is Nebraska. Nebraska doesn't win. Everybody thinks, yes, I agree. Last year they were this close to winning a bunch of games. They won 1 game in the Big Ten. Scott Frost is in a lot of trouble. And it's more than just the Oklahoma game, Alan. He can win the Oklahoma game. And that's the only game he wins 3 games this year, he's getting fired. He had to change over half his staff this year to keep his job this year. So anyway, that's really all we got. We'll talk more about the college. If you guys got a few more comments, let's see. Can't wait for Saturday. First event. Alan will be at the Oklahoma opener on Saturday, and we're happy for you there, Alan. And we'll certainly talk more about that game. I think it is. I think they play UTEP, don't they? Is that right? I know we weren't sure which Texas team they were playing there for a while, but let's dive into the NFL here. It's 9:54. I want to give ourselves a good half hour to talk about the NFL. We'll talk about some news and notes around the NFL. Listen, I guess I'll give some scores just because they play games. Do they really matter? Don't care, but I'll give the scores. If you guys got any comments, put them up, but we won't spend a lot of time talking about scores in preseason games because I do not think it even matters a little bit. But let's just take a look around. This week's scores, Thursday, we had the Chiefs beating the Saints. I'm going to talk the Chiefs beating the Packers. Really cool tribute to Lenny Dawson in this game as they lined up in the choir huddle formation, which the Chiefs kind of made famous back in the 60s and 70s. Lenny Dawson, I'm going to talk more about Lenny Dawson in a minute, so hold your comments there for a second. The Texans beat the 49ers, big deal. Jimmy G, by the way, no camp, no playbook, no team. We'll talk about that in a bit too. Patriots looked absolutely atrocious. Mac Jones, I think they scored 3 points with him in the game. They were 3 and out, field goal, 3 and out, I think, something like that. Let me see if I still have that up here. Had it up for a bit. That's for Mark later. By the way, we're going to have a conversation about more conversation in Major League Baseball about the new schedule when Mark Mancini comes in, because he's for it. Watch my vlog and you'll see I'm not. It's atrocious. It's an abomination. I mean, I'll think of any more words I can think of here in a little bit. So what did Mac Jones do? I don't know. I can't find it. I think I'm pretty close to what I had. Does it really matter, though? It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're struggling. Matt Patricia's not doing a great job, or they're not grasping what he's trying to preach. But whatever. Where else? Where else we going here? I lost my track of where it was. Where the hell? There we go. Panthers win their 23rd in a row. Does that matter? Oh, that's not the Panthers. I want to get to the Ravens. Where's the Ravens? Ravens win their 23rd in a row, 17-15 over the Commanders. Does it matter that you won 23 preseason games in a row? I've had this debate with the Philly sports guy, Jamie Paggs, a couple of times this past week. I don't know why it matters. I really don't. The Bills get killed by the Panthers. Is that indicative of anything? Nope. Cowboys 27-26 over the Seahawks. Am I reading anything into the fact that they barely got by maybe the worst team in football this year? No. Geno Smith's been named the quarterback here, by the way. That tells you all you need to know about the Seahawks. Drew Lock had a tough game. Do I think the Cowboys are better or worse because they only beat this team by 1? No. Do I care that the Chargers are 0-3? No. I lost to the Saints, 27-21. Falcons, 28-12 over the Chargers. Bengals, 16-7 over the Rams. We'll talk about the Rams more in a second. The Bears beat the Browns. Titans beat the Cardinals. Dolphins beat the Eagles. Don't hear this Philly sports guy telling me that's a big deal. Ravens, we talked about. The Bucs get killed in Tom Brady's return. Brady playing this game? I know Kyle Trask played most of it. Did Brady even play? Tom Brady did start. Was in there he threw the ball 8 times. I'm done talking about Tom Brady and how disappointed I am in him. And we got the Vikings losing to the Broncos 23-20. Does that matter? Nope. Jets and the Giants today at 1 o'clock. Lions and Steelers. Does any of that matter? Nope. Is this the last preseason game, by the way? I think it is. Yeah. Oh, wait. Hold on. Maybe not. Yeah, there's no more preseason games after today. So they'll take a week off, and then we open the season. What else is going on around the league? We got some things to chat about for sure. I want to get in. First, I want to talk about something positive. Lenny Dawson. Great quarterback in the NFL. One of the first guys I loved watching play. I loved watching that Kansas City Chiefs team play. They were doing things on offense nobody was doing then. They did things, putting guys in motion. You know, people think this type of thing was invented in today's game. It really wasn't. Teams like the Cowboys and the Chiefs were doing this back in the 60s and 70s. Maybe, certainly not with the to the extent that teams are doing it today. But I don't know. I'm getting a link to Mac and Jack show now. But anyway, Lenny Dawson was a great player for the Chiefs. Was the fifth selection overall in 1957 draft with the Steelers. Never got a chance with the Steelers. He was 27 years old, I think, before he ever got a chance to play. Hank Stram brought him to Dallas to play for the Dallas Texans before they moved to Kansas City. He knew him from his days at Purdue. They were both there. Hank Stram was on the staff. They became one of the first powerhouses in the AFC or AFL. And Lenny Dawson, I will argue with you that Lenny Dawson and the Chiefs beating the Vikings, sorry, Rick, in Super Bowl IV was as important as Joe Namath winning Super Bowl III with the Jets. Because there were a lot of people who thought that was just an aberration and it couldn't happen again. And the merger wasn't final. The Chiefs beating them up pretty good. The Vikings in that game really solidified the fact that the AFL could play with the NFL, and that was very as important, I think, as Namath's victory in Super Bowl III. And Dawson also did a lot of other stuff. He was an announcer. He was doing sportscasts, weekly sportscasts, full-time sportscasts in Kansas City while he was still an active player. After his playing career, he was an announcer for the Chiefs. He spent a couple of decades, I think, doing the NFL Today. What they call This Week in the NFL on HBO with Nick Bonacani. I think they did 20 years together. I think when that show originated, it's still on today. I don't know where. Showtime, I think. I couldn't even tell you who the hosts are because they bounce around so much. But these guys did it for 20 years, and it was a place to go and watch NFL highlights in a time where you couldn't get them all the time. So Lenny Dawson was an important NFL player, a great quarterback for his time. The game's changed so much. Please don't tell me about stats and everything else. These Chiefs teams were great. And I thought what they did Thursday night and lining up in that huddle, and I saw a composite, the Chiefs of old and the Chiefs went Thursday night huddle, and it was really cool to see. And, one of the great pictures that you see in the NFL. So a couple of comments here as we go through what I just talked about, and then we're going to get into some other stuff. Yes, Utah, then Nebraska. Deadline for 53 rosters is Tuesday, a very important day for a lot of players. And Alan and I will be putting together, recording a NFL preseason special before the season starts, probably. If not next week, then probably Labor Day week. So we still got 2 weeks to get this done. Seattle quarterback situation is an absolute joke. Maybe Jimmy G ends up there. I don't know. I mean, one thing I'll tell you right now as we're talking about it, what's next for Jimmy G? He's got no camp. They told him to stay away from camp. They didn't give him a playbook. No team? Are they going to keep him in limbo? Are they going to release him? Is anybody going to sign him? You don't know what you're getting. Since Jimmy G had shoulder surgery, nobody's seen him throw the football. What else we got here comment-wise? I got a few things to catch up on. Sorry, guys. Where were you? So, again, what does Seattle do? Geno Smith is the quarterback. I don't think it's because of Drew Lock's. I mean, I guess, Pete Carroll's saying it's because, Drew Lock didn't have time to get prepared. Well, they've had him since last December. I know he had COVID. I know he played bad. But Geno was going to be the starter here, and that's not a good choice. Either one of these guys. This team is going to be the worst team in the NFL. Mark my words. Well, we'll probably – again, Alan, I still got to get my schedule ironed out. I've been just like – I'm going from 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. in the morning to about depending on the day, and doing shows 9 o'clock at night. So I got to find time to do it. We will, I promise you. Ed Podolak, Mike Beretta. The Chiefs were a cool team. Great defense too. Willie Lanier and Bell and Jim Lynch, who just passed away recently. Great team. Joe Kapp was never the same after that Super Bowl. Joe Kapp was never a good player anyway. You know, Joe Kapp played. He was a refugee from the Canadian Football League. I think. Rick, you might be able to speak to this better than I. He might have played for Bud Grant in the CFL. He was never a good NFL quarterback. He went to the Patriots for a year after this, and he was just god awful. But I never thought Joe Kapp was much of a NFL quarterback. He was a brute. He could run. He was a big guy. He was a good college quarterback at Cal, but I don't think it was that good. Final game for the AFL was Super Bowl IV, I believe. You are correct. They became the AFC the next year. Dawson did TV games with Charlie Jones on NBC. Did very good call there. And I used to love those AFC teams. If you remember those AFC games, we had Charlie Jones and Dawson. You had Kirk Gowdy and Al D. Rogatis. Who remembers Al D. Rogatis? Len Dawson. I only got paid about $500 a week. Yeah. Different world. Checking the papers so he can say something. Checking the papers. So I'm not sure. Locke had 3 picks. Well, maybe somebody asked something. I might have missed something there. I don't know. Locke had 3 picks Friday. That's why he won't start. That's not why he won't start. Geno Smith was ahead of him already. I don't think this preseason game had anything to do with this decision. And if Drew, it doesn't even matter. If Drew Lock's your starting quarterback, you're still going to be the worst team in football. He'll play this year just because Geno Smith is going to stink. But Drew Lock's not going to be any better. It was ugly, right? Charlie Scott. Charlie Scott. Who's Charlie Scott? Help me out there. The only Charlie Scott I know is a basketball player. What else we got in the NFL chat about here before we run out of time? We're going to talk, we may have to. I put a thing up here. We're going to go around maybe some quarterback situation stuff. I can't find my banner that I just tried to put together, and I don't know where it ended up because I tried to move it up. I can't search. I'm looking for, here it is right here. Let's talk about this. And I know I'm going to be the opposite side of probably everybody here. Talked about this at great detail on the Mac and Jack show this morning with one Jim Jeffcoat who's closer to this type of situation than any of us are. And Jim comes out on the side I come on. First of all, this is a practice. The NFL's not going to have any jurisdiction here. This wasn't a game, and I'm not saying Aaron Donald was right in what he did, swinging his helmet. Not saying it's right. But this was in a practice. He'll get a fine from the team. That's going to be it. That's all he's going to get, guys. I guarantee you there are worse things that happen in practice than this. That if through the years, worse things have happened in practice than this. We don't see them because people aren't in there with cell phones in the past and all kinds of access to see what's going on there. Surprised this guy had a cell phone. Usually NFL teams don't let you bring that in when they have open practices like that. And for a league, by the way, this is a game that's a violent game. You can't take the violence out of football. And the league promotes it. Television partners promote it. But as soon as there's violence, they're all up in people's grill about it. And I would make an argument that through the years, I've seen more egregious acts than this just through the course of playing a football game. I was at a preseason game in 1976 when Jack Tatum put Darryl Stingley in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. That wasn't right either. And I know the games are different, but they still promote the violence, but they want to take the violence out of the game. You can't have it both ways. And in the heat of the moment, and look at Jim Jeffcoat agreed with me, and he didn't. Neither one of us is saying that what Aaron Donald did was okay. But in the heat of the moment, you don't even know what the hell you're doing. And if this was a game, maybe even a preseason game, if there's a regular season game, well, then the NFL would be suspending Aaron Donald. But it wasn't. It was in practice where if the cell phone wasn't there, it didn't even happen. So I know we're going to have some back and forth here, I'm sure. Oh, Ray Scott. If you're talking about Ray Scott, yes, Ray Scott was on with the CBS games, did the first Super Bowl. Another great. I love the old-time announcers, by the way. Absolutely love the old-time announcers. It's so much better than what we listen to today. Steelers starter. I think it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think it hasn't been decided yet, but I'm pretty sure it will be Mitch Trubisky. And you may see Mason Rudolph getting released by the Steelers. So the baby Rodgers is still complaining about the receiving. It's quieted down this week. He said they talked it out, blah, blah, blah. Quit complaining. If you want better receivers who will run the right routes and catch the ball, maybe you don't take your $50 million and then the team can't build better elsewhere. Pickett will not be the starter. I think that's pretty clear. I think the signals coming out of Pittsburgh is that Pickett will not start with the Steelers this year, at least to start the season. He could. There's Augustin. Good morning, Augustin. Good to have you with us here early for you, probably. I think you're out in California, right? Good to have you with us, though. Rick Sherlock, when I played on the Colonials, I pulled a helmet off a player and punched him in the face, 30 yards in penalties and thrown out. You can kill someone with a helmet. No excuses for this assault, plain and simple. I'm not saying, again, don't misinterpret what I'm saying. The NFL loves this stuff. You tell me, and again, I understand it happened 48 years ago or 40, whatever. Can't do math. Jack Tatum didn't take his helmet off. And he put Darryl Stingley in a wheelchair. There weren't even any fines, much less suspensions or assault charges. And I get the game was different. Watch NFL films from the 60s and the 70s, and you tell me that the NFL wasn't built on the violence that they promote. So they instill this rage in players, and then when they lose control, we want to punish them. It seems hypocritical to me. And quite frankly, Rick, I mean, by your definition here, I know you didn't use the helmet, but you pulled his helmet off and punched him in the face. That's assault, plain and simple. If by your definition. And again, stuff happens on the field, right? In the heat of battle. Jim Jeffcoat said the same exact thing I'm saying today. This guy's been in these practices. He's seen these things happen. More than you think. I'm assuming they happen. He's backing up the fact that they happen all the time. Two-a-days happens on every level of football, right? But you know what? This happens, and look at who knows. I mean, Jack Hirsch, God bless him, was saying today that if they would just stop the trash talking, come on, it's part of the sport. People get pissed and they do stupid things. I am in no way condoning what he did. But I've seen more violent acts with a helmet on during the course of a game than this. Listen, an NFL wide receiver could get killed on any given play in the NFL. There'd be a penalty, and the guy would probably get suspended today. But this is my problem. Stop promoting the violence. Every week on ESPN on Monday night, we see guys get jacked up, and it's a big deal, part of their pregame show or wrap up of the week. So the NFL and the TV partners promote the violence of the game, but then it's hypocritical. This is my problem in any sport. If you're going to be a hypocrite about anything, then I'm going to have a problem with you. I would like your comment, though, Rick, on my comment, and maybe you got one coming up here. I know we have a delay. But by your definition, you could have been charged with assault as well. I don't think you should have been. I knew Kenny be weighing in here. When the field worker didn't pick, that's not, hold on, field worker didn't pick enough, even though he was the best picker, and he got whooped. Listen, anything in real life cannot be compared to this or anything that happens on a football field. That's not the real world. We live in the real world. If I get angry at somebody that works for me and I walk out of my office and I hit him in the head with a baseball bat, I'm going to get fired and I'm going to lose my job because I'm not playing in the NFL where violence is encouraged. Again, and I'm not condoning what he did. Play hard and hurt people, but don't embarrass it. I mean, I get it. And I don't think he got, I'm certainly not. I will never condone this type of thing. I'm not going to condone guys leading with their head and going in like human missiles. Jack Tatum played his entire career as this type of violent criminal on the field. By the way, Roy Williams had nothing on the guys playing in the 70s, 60s. But they use their helmet. How many times have you seen a guy in jacked up lead with his helmet and knock a guy freaking in the next week? How is that any different than this? It's hypocritical to promote violence and then say this is way above the pale. And again, a guy who knows about these things, two-time Super Bowl winner, a guy who played on some pretty good teams and with some pretty rough, tumbled players, Jim Jeffcoat said these things happen all the time. You just don't know about it because there weren't cell phones to videotape anything else that ever happened. Well, it is a job they get paid to do. And sometimes, listen, as Jim Jeffcoat, look at, again, I'm going to use Jim Jeffcoat as my reference. He said, it's not the real world. This is a world of football. It's a violent world. They're programmed to be violent. And when these altercations happen, and they've happened to him, and he doesn't hold any malice towards the people that did it. Not swinging a helmet necessarily, but other types of altercations. I should have done my vlog on this week. Maybe next week. And again, you guys may very well be right. I'm giving you my opinion, right? I just think it's ridiculous the way the NFL wants to promote the game, but they want to pull all the violence out of it. And I'm not telling you this is a good thing. And I will tell you right now, there will be no suspension of Aaron Donald. There will be no suspension. If it happened in the game, there would be. Actually, not true, Kenny, because there was a big altercation that fans got involved with. By the way, another thing that was filmed by a cell phone. And there was a lot of backlash a few weeks ago because the Patriots got into it with the Ravens a late hit, and fans got involved, and again, not good. Fans should never be getting involved. That's a totally different situation. So I don't know that we're all into ballerina. That's just a good line, though. It is part of the games. Fights happen in every sport. I agree. And I understand, too, Alan. I understand where Rick and Kenny are coming from. The use of the helmet is taking it to a different level. Totally agree. But when players use their helmet during the games to inflict injury, don't tell me some of these guys are out there just trying to break up a play. And Rick, you still haven't commented on my comment about the fact that, again, by your definition, if you believe Aaron Donald should have been charged with assault, then the experience you described, you probably could have been open to that type of thing. Because in society I live in today, if I go punch somebody, and again, because Kenny says it's the real world, if I walk out in the street and punch somebody in the face, or I'm going to get probably arrested within the hour. Oh, what else we got here? I knew this would be. I knew this would be a good topic today. I'm sure. Look at every. You're talking about Mike Curtis. Every linebacker, middle linebacker, especially in the NFL in the 60s and 70s, clotheslined somebody. Oh, a fan? Yes, you know what? I think you're right, Kenny. I do remember this story, and it may not be the only one that ever happened. And I do think there's a story with Mike Curtis. We'll have to look that up. Where's Alan? Find me that story, Alan. What do you got here? 72, Howie Splitberger. Boy, we're really bringing up names from the past now. Active Fonda player with a helmet. Was he right? Yeah, well, we're going to disagree. I was no angel. I think you mean angel. Either that or you misspelled my name. But I left mine on when it got ugly. Well, that was smart. Finding a way to keep your helmet on is probably a really good idea. I always kind of laugh because I've seen these fights, right? And again, what we don't know is how Aaron Donald got the helmet. I'm assuming he ripped it off a guy. I always laugh though when I see altercations in a college football game, a pro football game, and a guy takes his helmet off. What the hell are you doing? And yes, we can disagree, Rick. I am not saying I've got this down 100%. But again, and I get there's limits. And maybe those limits have moved over the years, right? So maybe my Jack Tatum analogy doesn't stand up perfectly. But again, it's a game built around violence. The NFL wants to take every bit of it out. So we get a little hypocritical. Mike Curtis tackled a fan who ran on the field. I do have I remember seeing this on NFL films. So he had a guy with a helmet. Did the other guy have the helmet on? Kenny and Rick. Again, it's irrelevant to the story, right? It's relevant to the story, I should say. Oh, anyway, listen, it's a good topic. And at the end of the day, Aaron Donald is not getting suspended for this. Probably would have. Even in a preseason game, he probably would have. This was a practice. Again, without the cell phone video, it never even happened. You'd hear about it, but that'd be it. What else is going on in the NFL? What we need to talk about? And we can continue to talk about this. I do want to know whether the guy Howie Splitberger swung the helmet at had a helmet on himself. What else we got going on? Oh, we got to talk about this guy. I want to talk about it, and we're going to get into this. Well, maybe we won't talk about this now. Let me see. Do I have a banner up for this? Did I want to talk about this? I had to go so far to find that Aaron Donald banner I put up. I don't know. A couple situations. We talked about the and we can continue. We can go back to this if we want. The Bills released punter Matt Ariza in the wake of a gang rape assault. There's been some talk about whether should they have released him before. These are just civil suits. Listen, this guy doesn't have any cachet for the team to take a chance with these types of charges that he's guilty. Somebody tried to say if Josh Allen got this, he wouldn't have got released. I agree. There's no reason to keep a punter, no matter how good he is, who's a rookie, and even attempt to stand by him because of public relations. The public relations blowback would be just awful. Let's see. We still got a couple comments here. They have tamed football down so much that's not anywhere near as physical. Curtis clotheslined a guy running in the field and stole the ball. That's again, violence against fans is not what we're really talking about. We're talking about violence within the game. Oh, God. That's awesome. Was that Alex Mancini? Just kidding. It's a good point, by the way. Oh. Well, actually, the point about whether he had a helmet on is germane to the conversation. The fact that he's from Fonda and likely deserved it is as well. We're going to talk more about this Matt Araza topic here in a little bit. Sam Darnold, he's got a significant ankle sprain. He's likely going to go on the IR, I would say. Solidifies Taylor Mayfield's position. There was no other Baker Mayfield's position. There was no other option for Matt Rule in my mind. It'll be interesting to see what Carolina does for a backup. Talk about Cam Newton. Talk about Jimmy G. I don't know how anybody brings Jimmy G in when they haven't seen him throw, though. We don't even know that his shoulder is repaired from the surgery that he had. Also talk about Mason Rudolph. Should he get released by the Steelers? I got a feeling they may keep him, though. We'll see with the final cut downs. If Trubisky does win this job, which it does seem like he's going to, I don't know that they want their only backup to be Kenny Pickett. We'll see. They do tackle fans when they come on the field. I've seen that, obviously. I mean, one of the good things TV does when it comes to stupid fan interaction is they have learned to not show the guy. Don't glorify what he does, and then it goes away. We talked about Tom Brady being back after an 11-day absence and a few days before that, by the way. So he's missed, as I said, a good at least half, maybe a third of, maybe a little more than a third of training camp at best. I'm not going to get into a whole debate about this again. I just think it's really bad precedent for your starting quarterback and leader to be just leaving your team and saying, good luck, guys. See you when the games start. I didn't see this. The Buccaneers had more injuries yesterday to the offensive line. Tom Brady may be spending a lot of time on his back the way it looks right now. Their offensive line had already been weakened. And without Pro Bowl center Ryan Jensen and Aaron Stinney with knee injuries. And Jensen's replacement, Robert Yancey, goes down yesterday with an ankle injury, gets carted off the field. He didn't return. Then Nick Leverett, who's challenging for the starting left guard position, stepped in for Hansey at center and went down with a shoulder injury, forcing them to rely on their fourth string center. Now, I know we're still playing preseason games, And I'm not saying Tom Brady's absence contributed to this even a little bit, because that would be silly. But Tom Brady may have wanted to get acquainted with some of these guys that are going to be trying to protect his career end. Rick, what do you got? It was, and he was sacked. It was Alex Mancini. Is that what we're talking about? I was right. Hard to believe. Hope Alex isn't watching this show. If you're watching the show, Alex, thanks for being a viewer. And I hope you don't take this the wrong way. It's all in good fun. Oh my God. We talked about Winston being the quarterback. We're going to have Mark Mancini joining us here in just a few minutes. So we're just trying to extend a little bit. And I will remind you guys, while we have most of our regulars here, and I should have said it earlier when we were at our peak viewership, we will be moving the show starting next week to 8:30 to 10:30. And it's quite a selfish move on my part, so I hope it doesn't affect any of you guys too much. I know, Alan, it's an hour earlier for you, which I hope isn't a problem, but you said you don't sleep anyway. Bucks play the Cowboys, Saints, the Packers, all the first 3 weeks, all good defensive teams. I guess let's take a quick look. Maybe we'll take a quick look at the I know we still got a week to do it, but let's take a quick look, at the week 1 matchups. There's some good games. The debut game on Thursday night is Buffalo at the Rams. That should be a good game. We got New Orleans at Atlanta. Looks like Mariota will be the starter there, but Desmond Ridder coming out strong. You may see him as the season progresses. San Francisco with their new quarterback, Trey Lance, at second-year quarterback at Chicago, Justin Fields. I don't think either one of those teams is going to be very good. Pittsburgh will be at Cincinnati. Should be an interesting game as well. Philadelphia at Detroit. I know Alan is a big fan of Detroit making a run this year. New England at Miami. Big start for the Patriots. The Patriots are a mess right now, especially offensively. I talked about Mac Jones's struggles and frustrations the other night. It's only the preseason, and this may take some time to straighten out. Right now, I go through the schedule. I think we can eke out 9 wins. I might change that before we do the pregame special. But this is going to be a struggle for the Patriots for half a season trying to get this right, I'm afraid. We'll see. Baltimore goes to the Jets. Jacksonville at the team formerly known as the Redskins. Cleveland will go to Carolina, an interesting matchup for Baker Mayfield. The Colts go to Houston. The Giants go to the Titans. Green Bay at Minnesota. Big Central Division game to start off the season there. Kansas City will play at Arizona, an interesting matchup, interleague matchup. Vegas at Los Angeles. Big game to start in the West as well. Tampa Bay at Dallas, another nice big game in the NFC. And the inaugural Monday night game will be Denver at Seattle. That'll be a real stinker, right? Augustine. Yeah, Augustine, I hope you might have trouble. I know moving the show up might be difficult for you on Sundays, but I got to do what I got to do. Dolphins have an underrated defense. I agree. Dolphins' big issue is going to be quarterback. If Tua is the quarterback some people think he is, then the Dolphins have a good year. If he's not, they're going to struggle. I'm a stud. Sorry, I'm reading some text. Too funny. I had a weird text from my sister-in-law this morning. 20 for the jar. I said formerly known as Redskins, didn't I? Which gives me a pass. I believe I qualified this early on. If I said Redskins, then I will put the money in the jar. Augustine's not got trouble. Hope you're an early riser, buddy. You just wake up time. Listen, it's an early day out there. Tua has weapons, no excuses. I agree, Neil. But the issue is Tua's not accurate enough. Tua's going to struggle. Tyreek Hill is going to realize pretty quickly he's not playing with Patrick Mahomes anymore, that he doesn't have Kelsey clearing out space for him. And I think quarterback play is going to be the downfall of the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins finish last in this division. I think the Jets will be much improved, and I think the Dolphins will be last in this division, unless the Patriots fall all apart and it's them, which would not be. You won't see a happy Keith on Sundays, I'm guaranteeing it, or Mondays. I know Lions are a heart pick. Yeah, that's fine. Don't give it away. I know you like to send me. I think you sent me some stuff the other day, and that's fine now. And you can send me whatever you want, but maybe we save a little bit of it for the show. But I guess knowing where we're going gives a little time to kind of come up with some replies. But we'll do that show, and again, it'll probably air. We're going to do the show, and it'll air the week before the week of the start of the season. So before that Thursday night. So I guess we got to get it done. I'm actually thinking about doing it Labor Day, to be honest with you, Alan, depending on what the weather's going to be here and whatnot. So just read a book story. Then I watched NASCAR, big NASCAR fan. We don't get into NASCAR much here, and I apologize for you guys who might be fans. It's just not something I follow. But it is what it is. Nope. That could be to anything. Help me out, Rick. Nope, for what? I don't know where our boy Mancini is this morning. Hope he's all right. I just realized I may not have sent him the link now that I think about it. I should probably send him the link and see if he still shows up. Mark Mancini, I apologize if I did not send you this link. I'm going to send it again in case you're sitting there looking for it in your email. No conspiracy here, I promise, to keep Mark Mancini off the airwaves today, but I might have missed it. So until then, I'm going to give you guys the Lions. Yeah, I agree, Rick. I don't see the Lions doing a whole lot here. I've told you guys before, and we'll talk about it more when we do the special, right? To me, if there's going to be, let me look at the standings thing again. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. And if Mark pops in here, we'll certainly get him in. I wonder if I missed his call. Oh, it looks like he might have called because I didn't send the link. Oh, poor Mark Mancini. I'm so sorry, buddy. Nope, that wasn't him. Good. Anyway, if you want to pick a team to come from way outside, Lions, I don't think they might be a decent pick because of the Central. It's not the Central, sorry. I went back in the time machine again. The NFC North, you might say, could have some teams that will struggle. I like the Vikings to win a division, but I don't think the Vikings and the Packers are necessarily going to be world beaters. I said this about the Packers last year, and they end up with the best record in the conference. But I'm going to look for somebody. I like the Jets. If a team was going to come out from nowhere. So please don't tell me, the Vegas Raiders. Give me a team that wasn't in the playoffs, that was nowheres last year. Nowhere. I don't even care if they had 10 wins and missed the playoffs. I don't want to hear it. I want one team that could surprise you. And I'm going to say, and make the playoffs. I'm not picking the Jets to make the playoffs. Do not get me wrong. I'm saying if the stars align, the Jets have, and Zach Wilson makes progress, they could be a team that would surprise you and maybe be a surprise entry. Rick, I think the Vikings are improved. The Packers still have Rodgers, but unfortunately for them, the Lions will always give them a game, and I don't trust Kirk Cousins. I don't either, but I am picking them to win the Central, which I doubt will change before we do the special. Some of the comments I've said, he's out wrestling up some cheesesteaks. I may not have sent him the link to the studio last night when I set up the StreamYard. And if I didn't, Mark, I apologize profusely. If a team's coming out of nowhere, it will be the line. You can't name 3. I could say the Giants, too, because I did pick them to finish second in the NFC East behind the team formerly known as the Redskins. You can't pick 3. You got to pick 1. You gave me 1. You get the Lions. So I want any of you other guys. NFL, good for you. Who's your team, Augustin? I think we determined you were forgive me. I think an Oregon fan in college football. Maybe the Broncos. That would be one that I would accept. Certainly. They've now got a real quarterback. I don't know, though, that Russell Wilson's in any better position than maybe he was with the Seahawks as far as talent around him. There's some talent there, but the Seahawks had some talent. And, look at if they're going to rely just on Wilson, I think it's going to be tough. But I think that's a good pick. That's a tough division, though. It's a really tough division. The Chargers are going to be better. I was really hoping that Mark would be on because one of his hot takes was the Chargers being 3-0 and being in trouble, I believe. I don't care that the Chargers are 0-3. Sorry, 0-3 in the preseason. Who cares? Again, I can't take them. I know I don't think you're talking about them in the context of what I said here because. See, I wouldn't, but again, these aren't teams I don't think that I would accept as out of nowhere, Neil. I mean, what was the Vikings record last year? Can I go backwards on this? I think I can. Oh, yeah. So let's look at the teams that we've just talked about. The Ravens, 8-9, underperformed. I don't think that's out of nowhere. I mean, you got 3 good teams, 3 competitive teams in that division. What was your other pick? The Vikings. Can I accept the Vikings? Again, 8-9. I actually think I picked the Vikings to win that division last year. Rick, you may not want me on them. And Kenny's all over this with Tampa. You guys are not really getting me with the 14 to come out of nowhere. You know what? I might even accept the 49ers, even the fact that they were in the NFC Championship game, only because I'm not expecting anything out of them this year. Trey Lance, I think, is going to struggle mightily, and I think he might be a good NFL quarterback over time, but I'm not sure that he will be now. And not maybe, but I also think you could be saying that that's your team. Yeah, 8-9. I don't know if I'm going to buy that. I think you got to have been, 7 wins and less last year. I accept the 49ers only because I expect them to be so bad. I got to go through their schedule. I just don't think they can do that. Let's take a look at some of these teams we're coming up with. I have another team in mind, but I'll save that for later. You already named 4. Kenny gets 3. Saints. Can I accept the Saints? They're 9-8 last year. I can't accept them as out of nowhere. I can give you Miami, but again, they're predicted. The other caveat here is they can't be really predicted to do well, and a lot of people predict them to win 10 games already. Chicago would certainly fit the bill. Chicago fits every piece of criteria I can possibly give you. I don't think the Saints are a team that you can call that, though. They were 9-8 last year, just missed the playoffs. Carolina? If I was going to give you another, because I'm going to break one of my rules. I can only pick one team. But I guess if I was going to pick a team in that South, it might be the Panthers. If Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, if Baker Mayfield can turn back the clock to when he was playing his best with the Browns, if the injuries to the Bucs are going to cause all kinds of problems, if there's strife because of Brady missing so much at camp, if the Saints and Jameis Winston turn back into Jameis Winston before, he was with, Tampa, they can't play. If the Falcons stay the Falcons, then who knows? Carolina could jump up there. Kenny's a Fudge Packer fan, not a 49er. Panthers, there you go. That's a good one, Neil. That's a very good one. If Baker Mayfield, he needs revenge. He needs to do more than have revenge in week 1, obviously. But Baker Mayfield played some pretty good football 2 years ago. Got his team within a fumble at the 1-yard line to go into the AFC Championship game. I think that was 2 years ago. But the key here is going to be McCaffrey. McCaffrey is, I think, the best weapon in the NFL. Problem is he's never healthy enough or for enough games. So not a bad pick. Keith, our NFL team's my NFL team's favorite team is that what you're asking me, Augustin? I am a lifeline diehard New England Patriot fan. And who do I think is a favorite to win this year? Buffalo. I guess we're going to get a couple of minutes with Mr. Mark Mancini.
Trying to work out the technical problems.
Well, I may have had a snafu and forgot to send you the link.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's I have problems with the Wi-Fi right now. But
well, good. I guess we both had problems because even if you had Wi-Fi, I forgot to send the link last night when I set up the show, and I sent it when I realized you weren't in the room yet, and I said, wait a minute, maybe I didn't send it. So anyway, we're gonna have to go quick today, I guess. Mark, good to have you in. We've been talking about some potential surprise teams here while we're filling some time. I know you had some topics you wanted to get into, so I'm going to let you give me your first hot take, and then we'll move on quickly from and try to get through them all.
Well, the Major League Baseball schedule I like. I mean, a lot of people I know don't like it.
No, you're talking to one right here.
I got some friends that live in New York that are Royals fans, and they go, "Wow, this is going to be great." Every other year, we get to see Kansas City play the Mets. And for the traditionalists, I got tired of the Rays and Orioles 20-something times a year. I don't need to see the Nationals and Mets 20-something times. I tune that right out.
Why do I need divisions at all? If I'm going to play 50 games in my division, that's it, and I'm going to play 66 games with the other league, why do I even have divisions? They mean nothing.
Well, here's the thing. Now you're going to get a balanced schedule, 1. You're going to create rivalries, number 2. And the average fan is going to come back and say, well, I don't need to see the Twins play the Phillies in Philadelphia, but why wouldn't you want to see Byron Buxton? I mean, let's face it. The A's haven't been into Pittsburgh since I went there and saw PNC Park open up in 2001. It's been 22 years since the A's have played in Pittsburgh. If you're an A's fan living in Pittsburgh, you got to go to Detroit and Cleveland. Well, now you're guaranteed every other year the A's will come to Pittsburgh.
So you're telling me that's better than if I rolled back the clock and we had the old NL East and Pittsburgh was playing against the Mets and the Cardinals and the Phillies, and those were great rivalry games. And now nobody cares about the A's and the Pirates. Nobody.
Well, when they took the rivalry out with the Pirates and Phillies, who are playing this weekend in Philly, and they only play 7 times a year, and they're in the same state, and then I'm force-fed to the A's and the Angels 20-something times. How fair is that? Where if you're trying to build a rivalry, how come the Pirates and Phillies aren't in the same division?
I'm not trying to build rivalries. I'm not trying to do that. Why are the teams in the major markets constantly forced to prop up teams that aren't? Why? Because the Yes Network doesn't want to go to Colorado and broadcast 7 games with the Rockies every year. They don't want that. They want the games against the Red Sox. They want the games against the Blue Jays, and that's what the fans want too. So
that was the clown show in the NFC East with the Cowboys, with the Arizona and all those teams. You remember that? How the hell is Phoenix in the NFC East with Washington, the Giants, and the Cowboys?
Well, that was because they moved out of St. Louis before they could realign, right? So, I mean, I get that. And look at the Braves for years played in the NL West.
Yep, with the Reds and Astros and the Dodgers, Padres, and Giants.
So I get some of that. But I don't understand. We went from playing before the realignment of divisions when we just had East and West. They played 90-some games in their division. We went to 76, and now we're going to play 52.
The most bizarre was growing up, I think it was in the National Hockey League. They had a division of Montreal, Detroit, the Kings, Pittsburgh, and I think the California Golden Seals, if I'm not mistaken. How the heck is Montreal and the Kings in the same division?
Kenny, the solution is not to go to 125 games. The solution is to play the right type of balanced schedule. Watch my vlog, guys, because I get a little animated Friday in this vlog. Because Rob Manfred, this is another, and listen, I respect your opinion, Mark, but I will have to tell you, you're absolutely wrong.
The XM says Mancini's the world's worst handicapper. Whatever you take the opposite. But I guess you'll agree with me on this.
Hold on one second. I got a suggestion for you. I think you should immediately send your resume to Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, because you're going to be on his marketing team in a second. They'll hire you in a second.
Well, I'll tell you, a good buddy of mine's working up there with him. I guess Theo Epstein's still with him. So,
well, there you go.
I should probably jump on that. But I tell you what, you will look at here is what the hell happened in Oakland last Sunday. There's like 5 fans, and the cameraman pans to a couple making out in the empty stadium that's called the Oakland Coliseum.
Had to be better than what was going on in the field. I mean,
nobody cared about the Mariners and A's.
I don't know. Did the FCC step in here? I mean, I don't know exactly how explicit this got, but I was trying to find some video last night. It might have been, my wife might have it blocked from my computer. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I can't get to that content.
I want to know. I want to interview the girl. We need to get her on the show if she has any contact with Deshaun Watson.
It looks like, hold on one second. The Mad New Yorker's chiming in here on the schedule. This is what he said to me on we're not going to spring and summer split seasons. We did that in 1981. It was the stupidest thing ever that baseball did until now, by the way. But
they got to do something. I mean, hey, you're revved up, man. Nebraska, Northwestern. I thought Duquesne might pull a surprise. They got their asses whacked.
Think I called that on the head, didn't I? Don't be surprised if they cover the spread and win the game.
And look at what Hawaii didn't even show up.
Yeah, I blew that one though. We were both all over Hawaii, and oh my God, they're going to be bad. That's going to be a bad team. Or Vanderbilt's better than we think. One or the other.
Nebraska needs some help. Where's Tom Osborne and Jarvis Redwine when you need them?
Well, you might have to get Tom Osborne out of the holiday. I don't even know. He's got to be 90 years old, isn't he?
So yeah, that Nebraska team, I tell you, it's gonna be a long year for those boys.
So you sent me this note yesterday too that there seems to be some big deal about the Chargers being 0-3 in the preseason. The preseason is so useless. Why is this important?
Well, if you're going to count wins and losses, to me, it's important. I mean,
they don't count.
You got to have some consistency. If they're keeping track of a record, I'm giving my best effort, and I can care less if it's preseason. Then don't keep score and don't keep wins and losses. So it does tell you a lot. And I'll tell you one thing: the Lions went 4-0 preseason, but they started the regular season. I think that was the year they went 0-16. But the Raiders look strong. And look at the Baltimore Ravens; they've won like 23 in a row.
And you know what? Who cares? They don't give you trophies for preseason games. I don't care if you win 23 in a row.
Keith, I think it sets a tone. It sets a tone of being in the right frame of mind. Yeah. Get everybody. I mean, you got to get listen. If you're not going to play starters, and these guys are carrying water bottles on the bench, how the hell are you going to pick it up in 10 days and be ready to play an opener against the Raiders, who've been smashing everybody in the preseason?
It's also depending on the team situation, right? Winning is more important for a team that's got new people, new coaches, whatever. That's more important. I've seen teams go 0-4, 1-3, win Super Bowls, and teams that go 4-0 and go 0-16, as you talked about just a second ago.
The Raiders, I mean, the Chargers can go 0-5 here by going 0-3 in the preseason, open up with the Raiders, short week, and they go to Kansas City. So good luck with that.
Well, we only got a few minutes left. One thing I want to chat with you about, because we just spent a lot of time on the air, which I just realized I misspent his oh, no, I didn't misspell that. That was Rick. So the Aaron Donald situation, my take is, much ado about nothing. Violence is part of the NFL, and he's not going to get suspended. The league's not going to get involved. It's a practice. It's not a game. Give me your thoughts real quick.
Well, you know me. I don't go against my Pittsburgh guys. I'll be a little biased here. I hate the Rams, but I like Donald. Yeah, a little eccentric there, waving the helmet. Kind of reminded me of the Myles Garrett one. But, see, this is another thing where Roger Goodell should step in. You punished Myles Garrett. This guy needs to be held accountable. When accountability, communication, character, integrity aren't part of sports, then you got a slippery slope here, my friend. You
support, for decades you've pushed the violence in football. It's a violent sport. You can't take the violence out of it. That's what attracts people to the game. But as soon as players are a little bit violent, and I was on the show with Jim Jeffcoat this morning, former Super Bowl winner with the Dallas Cowboys, and he talked about how worse things than this would happen in practice. He doesn't condone it, neither do I. I don't condone it. But worse things like this would happen in practice, and you didn't see it because nobody had a cell phone filming it. I've seen worse things happen with guys with their helmet on, and during a game they're violent. They're human missiles, and we don't take
then you go after a guy like Sean Payton, who's up in the ante to knock a quarterback out, or you're going after Tom Brady with the footballs being used by the Colts, and they're getting their asses whacked, and they complain about it doesn't make sense. I've never been a big fan of gray areas in anything. It's black and white to me. And when you create gray areas or you play favoritism to teams or whatever, then you create a downhill effect of idiosyncrasies as far as you don't know how to run a league.
Well, there is that, but I don't think there's any, again, if this had happened in a preseason game or certainly in a regular season game, the league would have stepped in. I think this is going to stay on the Rams. The Rams are going to fine them, and that's going to be the end of it. And they're going to say, don't do that again. But
the Rams got big problems. I mean, let's face it, they're going to be the hunted this year. Stafford's got a freak injury. Good luck with this Bryce Perkins kid. They're going to get their asses kicked by Buffalo in the first week.
That'll be an interesting matchup for sure. And you and I next week, so be prepared. We will next week, you and I go through division by division and make our selections.
Yes, I'll be ready and coming in a half an hour early.
That's right. We'll be on it. Mark will be on at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and we got about a minute to wrap it up here. So what do you got for me to wrap up the show here,
Well,
Matt?
this Thursday we'll have the out of Philadelphia Liberty Bell Smack where we had fun with Craig Elo. Craig Elo was giving me his top 5 actresses with big tatas.
I actually watched that the other night.
Yeah,
it was
Julia Roberts was number 1, and we had some fun with it. This week, George Eichhorn out of Detroit, big sports writer, comes on alongside Chris Pirtle out of Vero Beach, Florida, a talk show host. So we got to get you on those shows too, man. They're kicking.
We'll certainly talk about it, man. I need more bandwidth. I got to retire from my real job. That's what I got to do. So listen,
I love
guys,
you, brother.
Stick with me for a minute, Mark. Guys, thanks for being with us. All of you and your participation this is your show, as I keep saying. Alan, Rick, Kenny, Billy, Augustin. If I'm missing somebody, I apologize. You guys are wonderful every Sunday and for all the shows. So we'll be on at 8:30 a.m. next week. Don't forget, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll see you then, and I'll see you Wednesday with the College Football Huddle. And you might see one Mark Mancini then. Have a great night. Have a great Sunday. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.